how to update tire stats as you're driving,
Yeah,
and because you're getting used to the tires, getting used to the track more,
yeah,
and all that. Update the tire profiles so we have you know better information to make
yeah,
decision making for the strategy.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Um, well, let's go through the this Excel together, shall we? Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay. So we are looking. So I created this Excel over the last week, and basically to read it, anything in the blue or greenish box is what we probably need to manually um, write, or we need to input data. So things like for different tracks, it's going to be different laps. Um, wait, there are two laps.
what are you referring to? Sorry.
Wait, hang on. I'm referring to the
Do you want
Google
to
Sheet.
just do you just want to share your screen?
Sure. Yeah, actually, I can share screen.
Because then I
Discord can
can
share
because
screen,
then I
right?
can see a pointer. A pointer would be very useful.
Yeah. Yeah, Discord can share screen. I didn't realize it. There we go. Okay, so this is the Excel, well, Google Drive sheet, and we are supposed to type in the lab here. I don't know why there's a lab, like there's this line there. Um,
Give me one sec. Let me zoom in.
okay,
Yep, go.
okay. So there are two labs row here. I don't know why, um, but that's the way it is. I don't remember
Okay.
having the third one. If I delete that, is it gonna break anything? No, it doesn't break anything. Okay, cool. So let's just delete that. I'll put this back up. Yeah, one sec. Okay, so this is what we need to input. That's the lap number. The pit, how long does the pit take? Usually this is 20 seconds or something, or
Yep.
22. That's pretty much for every lap, so we're reasonably confident with that. The third one is tire threshold. So this tire, we can't model this in more detail, but basically this threshold means if tire wear exceeds this level, then the car is undrivable. Um,
So if it
undrivable
falls
means
below,
undrivable means I can still drive it, but it's very
yeah.
likely I will crash out, which is not good. So this would depend on each track. So for example, Mugello is super hard on the tires, so and a lot
Yes.
of fast turns. So even though your tire might still have 65% left in the life, but
Yeah.
if you don't have the grip, it's very dangerous, as we've seen a few times in the race. I crashed out because either we are talking well, because both we are talking, and I paid a tiny bit, a fraction less attention to the grip, and that's how it slides out. That little fraction there. So this can change every track, and this is what we need to determine pre-race in the practice. Tire wear
What
is,
is
yep.
what does tire threshold influence on the page, like on the calculations?
Okay, so you see this yellow and the red. Oh, actually,
Yes.
what does? Good question. What does it do again?
The yellow and the red is done by conditional formatting.
Yep. Okay, so this 35, so here there's tire, right? This is supposed to be tire, wait, did you change this somehow? This is supposed to say tire life, tire life. And
Oh, that makes so much more sense now.
yeah, so this is gonna be the threshold divides by how many wear every lap. So if every lap wears
Uh,
10% and then 35%, that means this tire can only last 3.5 laps. So
got it. So,
yeah,
okay, so the things that I should be able to update is basically front and back tire
yes,
wear
yes,
and
yes.
tire life is calculated.
Yes, yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, for example, towards the end, I ask you how many more laps, and if you
Yeah,
say
yeah.
five more, and well, technically, you can look at this and tell me and say, Jack, five more laps, we can go on to soft and then make up the time, and then that's where
Yeah,
that's where you get the data from.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
And okay.
So and those data is going to be very different each track. So again, those data comes from pre-race practice. I'll fill this in whenever
Yeah.
I get a chance.
Those lap times
Yep,
in the tire section,
yep, are
how
not
do
accurate.
those get incorporated into the calculations?
Okay,
Do they get
so okay, so here's how they are calculated, right? So let's say
oh
so this is gonna go to the lower left section here. This is lap number. It's gonna be a big number because it depends on how many pits we do. For example, if we do a pit here on 60, then hang on, sorry. If I choose a pit here, then that 59 goes by 59 and all the rest updates. I'm just putting a super big number here so that we don't run out of, boxes
yeah
basically. And I have a in the estimate total part, uh, it's only going to count the total if the total is less
number?
than 59 laps. This should probably be dynamic as well. So
Yes.
not gonna do that now, but yeah, and that gives us the total time. Just 1 second. And yeah, and lap zero always starts from pit or start formation lap at least. It doesn't really matter. Tire is 100, and then start
Yep.
from lap one. That's medium. You've for every lap, you you can choose the soft, medium, blah blah blah. If at any time if you pit it, then just click on pit. If you, once you do that, a few things is going to change. First, this number is going to go from 17 back to 16. So if this is pit, then lap number doesn't increment for this row. That's the first thing. Second thing is the in terms of the estimated time. Estimated time
Yeah.
for pit is always going to be 22. Okay.
Yeah.
If it's not pit, then it is going to be it is going to do a lookup. So I'm going to go into this column in a sec. Let's go through the
Yeah.
tire. Let's go through the tire type first. So this is 100. This is gonna look up the medium wear each lap, and then depending on the lap number, it just decrements like that. So that's should be straightforward. This is what we fill in during the race. You already know. For the time delta, so this is supposed to be a column that represents the amount of lap time I lose due to tire being worn down. So if tire and it's modeled by if it's 100% on the left, then there's basically zero wear, zero loss in the time delta. But if it's not 100%, then it's gonna be E12 E12, which is the one on the top, plus, because when we do VLOOKUP, it's a negative number, so it's actually a plus negative, so this becomes positive. So it's the previous delta plus uh, uh, plus this wear for the type. So for example, for medium is -4, and then divides by a coefficient. That coefficient is currently set to 25, and this is what you can adjust during the race. For example, when the race starts, and then we were like, oh, the tire is wearing a lot less than we expected, so we can increase this to 30. So as you can see, all the tire wear delta decreases. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah.
So this is one coefficient to help us quickly adjust the tire, the, 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 the,
Okay.
the time lost due to tire.
Let me continue to think about that and
Yep,
continue explaining.
yes, yep. And then this is the estimated time. So estimated time is going to be the if we just pit it last lap, it's just going to be the lap time. If it's the otherwise, it's just gonna keep adding. So if it's a pit, it's the 22 seconds. Uh, otherwise, otherwise it's going to be the lap time from previous lap, so 78.5 plus the new tire delta. So if you look at this, the tire delta is added, is cumulative. It's cumulative. What does that mean? So instead of like this is 78.50, right? So with 16, this becomes 78.66. With 32, if it's linear, then it would be 78 plus 32, which give you 82, right? But what I'm actually doing is I'm adding the 32 on top of 78.66, which means I'm doubling
Yeah.
the delta for the tire. So that gives us a sort of this exponential
Curve.
growth in time. I I thought exponential growth is better for estimation, but apparently probably not, judging by this rate. So we can definitely adjust the formula here to make it linear. So that's the exponential little growth line there.
Yeah, so yeah, that's my understanding of how it's being set up, which is
Yeah,
why when you were on mediums and you kept doing 119s, it was a bit confusing.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I wasn't
the
expecting I can keep doing 19s. So
so here's the thing though,
yeah,
right? Because obviously at there's sort of two factors that go into it. Like one, you get accustomed to it,
yep,
in terms of the track and being able to drive it.
yep,
Uh, we can just call that comfortability
yep,
factor.
yep,
And then there's obviously like the actual mechanical factor, which is like these tires actually have a theoretical best,
yep,
um, which suggests that uh, let's say that you're all warmed up and you're 100% comfortable,
yep,
you should achieve the theoretical best constantly. So I
yep,
like that should theoretically be exponential in terms of the wear and estimated time
yep,
like that grows.
yes.
But how do we account for those two things simultaneously happening during the race?
So initially I thought we would assign a tire delta, and then from there we get the estimated time, and
Yeah,
then estimated average is just for plotting this blue line, so just ignore this column.
yeah,
The actual time is what we're feeling, and the delta between the actual time and the estimated delta, I was assuming my driving is pretty consistent. So whatever delta that might be, that
yeah,
should be a result from tire delta. But I was not expecting is I was actually driving better than I expected.
yeah,
So even with the tire wear, I'm adjusting on the fly, and I'm actually going faster as tire wears down. So my comfortability factor actually um,
increases.
goes up faster or further than the tire wear.
Yeah,
So so maybe we can, yeah, we don't need to
I
model
think
my comfortability. That's pretty useless. But I'm just not sure if tire wear is going to be useful at all for the future. We can discuss this later. Like not
I,
tonight. Like a bit too tired, but you get what I mean. Um, that's what this column does. The actual time, and finally the delta. Suppose originally was want to originally wanted to be the to use this to tell how bad I am to improve, but it turns out it proves that I am consistent. So
yeah.
that's all for the better, I guess. And
So wait, so the delta is compared to okay, yeah, that makes sense. Actual time and estimated time.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. But to be fair, the estimated time is in exponential growth. So if we for next race, if we change it to linear growth, then this might look a lot, normal.
I
Because
would say stick to exponential growth for now, because that's sort of the expected.
yeah,
Actually, I don't know. Like thinking back on the tire profiles of like Scott and everyone else racing, it didn't dramatically drop, but that's sort of under the assumption that they're, very consistent as well and they're pushing it to the max.
yeah,
Um, maybe we can just try linear growth next time and just see how well that
models it.
tracks.
Yeah, yeah. We are truly getting into the heart of F1, which is all the formulas.
Yeah, this is why it's called Formula One.
Yeah, yeah, I know it. This is
Maybe,
quite.
maybe, yeah, maybe what we can do is have multiple, formula set up,
Yeah,
and we just
test it out.
yeah, and we could even change it on the fly depending on what seems to be the most fitting
Yeah,
during the actual race.
yes. And also, so just to wrap this up, this final column is called backup strategy. So before the
Yeah.
race, we use the best guess data to formulate strategy. So this strategy would result in um, average lap time of 82.62, which is not the far. Actually, sorry, my bad. I forgot to switch those two because the hard was actually faster. That's why.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
why
wait,
I said start with hard, but we did start with medium, and
how does
we pushed medium. So the strategy here is by the end of the race, the strategy column on the left is the actual strategy. So we can see what we did well is we pushed medium actually a lot further than we expected. So originally we were expecting to push medium for 7 laps, for good amount of time with wear, but actually we pushed medium for 16 laps. That's more than twice the expected amount, and still doing good laps. So that we can try to improve. We need to work out how to work more agile during the race, I guess, to
yeah?
to make the
Would
yeah
yeah, I think the biggest improvement in terms of tooling would be to just have all this. It's essentially I could just duplicate the sheet because
yeah
I just need another strategy column to
yeah
just plan out potential changes instead of copying and pasting on top of what has actually historically happened.
yes yes. So this is actually just naturally versioning. So the first race ever was Spa. This is the simple version. Then Monza we updated a bit. Then Mugello we updated a lot. And then I can't wait to see what we did next.
Yeah. Um, Very cool. I guess there's some other things as well, like with respect to tire thresholds. We can be more specific per tire as well if we
We
want.
could, yes. So we would modify this
Um,
table here, but it would require me doing a lot more laps on all the tires, which is very time consuming. So I'll try to get the best data possible before the race. We can even break this spreadsheet down into like pre-race data section, qualified
yeah,
data, and then actually just pre-race and then actual race. That'd be good. Because um, things like laps, pit, and tire threshold, and this tire matrix is supposed to be done before the race. But in the actual race, we just worry about other
yeah,
things.
that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah,
Um, with the backup strategy column
yeah.
and the average lap times, how do you calculate the average lap times? Is it sort of pretty simple, taking
Oh, so it's pretty simple. So I just copy the strategy. So copy that and
oh,
then
and then dividing total.
paste,
Ah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
that's the 82.15 as expected.
Oh, got it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense.
So once you play around with it, if you're happy enough with it, just copy this whole column into backup strategy 1, 2, and 3. That's how I
Right.
come up with it.
That makes sense. Okay, that's a lot clearer now. Thank you.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'll delete for this just for this race actually. I'm gonna delete. No, I don't need to delete anything. Just this average is not gonna be divided by 59. How many laps did we do in the end? Do you remember?
We were.
Yeah,
What was the last piece of info? That so we do 56 laps.
we did 56 laps. Okay. Um, yeah. Hell, sorry, 1 sec. We did 56 laps. So that's the planned laps. And we need one more row for actual laps. Did something break just now?
You just added a row.
Yeah,
So what you should have done was add a cell and then shift it down.
right. Oh, I can just shift this whole thing down. Cut, paste, copy, paste. This is gonna actually 56. So lap and then actual lap. Actually, I think we should put it here. So actual lap, which is 56. Hopefully we can finish the whole race starting from the next one, but you know, we know first time. So average should be that divides by I, which is 83 seconds. It's better than we planned. It is definitely better than we planned. Okay,
Cool.
cool, awesome.
I'm pleased. Kind of.
Yeah, that's a pretty good race analysis. And looking forward to do this next week.
Yeah. One last question with
Yep,
the lap times on
yep,
the top right.
yep.
Should those be modified at all?
Once we have the actual data, yes.
As in, like, should they be modified live during the race?
Yes, yes, because that gives you the updated data in the strategy part so we can plan better.
Cool. So I
Yeah,
should update
yeah.
those.
Any
Okay.
qualified data
So
is useless if we have better data in a race. Right.
right. Okay. So basically, with that section, update that those parts, front, back lap.
Don't change. Maybe don't change too much data right now because this is our actual race data. This is our actual race data. Maybe let's keep it.
On
But if we
Yeah.
duplicate a sheet, then we can play around with it and get ready for the next race.
No, as in next race. I don't know if that should be updated
Yeah.
um or not.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, but I mean, what I mean is we can, for retrospective, if we want to play around, we can duplicate this Mugello and then play with um, uh,
Oh
uh,
yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Mugello mocked post race analysis. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, just don't change this data because we sort of need it.
we do. Mm,
Cool. Thank you, AK. Thanks for tonight, and
yeah,
really helped a
likewise.
lot. Um, I don't think I can
It's
do.
always fun.
I definitely cannot do this without you because I, like, with the tire data changed so much, I can't possibly think about this on the fly in VR.
I'm sure you I'm sure you could. Like the other races they don't have a spreadsheet.
No, they don't. But they don't have someone telling me keep pushing, don't change tires. If it's up to me, I would have changed tire at lap 8. We could have
Uh
lasted until lap 16. So you know,
yeah. I guess the next biggest challenge is understanding um when sort of comfortability, like the right trade-off between comfortability and actual tire
yep.
should be. Um,
Ignore comfortability. I can always drive. Just keep pushing.
it's quite it's sort of the risk factor, right? Because there will get a
It is.
point where it's, and I don't know how to quantify it, where you have a 50, like let's say 50% chance of going off and
Yeah,
crashing during a lap.
yeah,
So obviously, in the overall strategy, that's terrible.
yeah.
I just don't know how to quantify that with respect to, you know,
Well,
some number.
it's not. I don't think it's quantifiable. It's it's gonna be a lot judged by a lot by the feeling.
Yeah,
Based on what I tell you. So I might tell you I'm sliding a lot, but as we've seen in the race, when I say that, usually after a few laps, if we are talking in section 3, I would definitely go out. So
yeah,
um, the other thing is also look at which position we are at. For example, today's race, initially we were 5, then big thing, then 6, then I was doing pretty well and pretty consistent after that, even though there's a few more spin outs, but it's pretty consistent and the lap
You were.
pulling gaps both front and the back. So it doesn't matter if we take more risk to go faster because we cannot lose. I think I'm 3 laps. I'm 2 laps behind at one point until the
Yeah.
previous person drop out or I crash. But and I think 2 laps ahead of the next one as well. So we could go a bit more aggressive. That's what I feel. I
Okay.
could be wrong, but you know,
I think that makes sense. I think you saying ignoring comfortability makes sense because the aim is as a racer is be as consistent as possible, right?
yeah,
If you can do, and you did do 119s consistently, you going off was sort of what you're like. That shouldn't happen
yeah,
if you're working towards to be a consistent racer.
yeah. And to be
But that
honest,
said,
it did happen a lot less frequently than I expected. Because
yeah,
in practice and qualifying, I was spinning out every 3 4 laps. I was
yeah,
and I was hoping I wouldn't go out, but
yeah,
there's
yeah.
there isn't
Okay.
much too major ones. So yeah, that's good.
That makes sense. Because if it's just based off consistency, then it's just purely we're just looking at lap times then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even with those big runoffs, the average is
Mhm.
still 83, which is way better than expected.
I
One
wonder
part,
what happens
yeah, one
with
part
that.
is we should definitely improve the modeling for expected, but the other is yeah, I'm sticking to the average pretty closely. So,
I'm
oh
just
well.
gonna, out of curiosity, I'm just gonna remove some of the runoffs
Yep.
and see what this looks like.
Yeah. Let's play around with this afterwards. I need to go.
No
Shall we?
worries.
Okay. Let's call it. Pretty good. P6 to P5. We did improve. So awesome.
It is
And
actually really exciting.
it is. It is. Thanks,
Cool.
AK. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Mm.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.